Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 2. Divide your means 7 ways or even 8, for you do not know what disaster may happen on earth. The word of the Lord. Divide your means 7 ways or maybe even 8, for you don't know what disaster may strike on earth. We don't know. You don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. During this time of year in which we remember that we came from dust and to the dust we shall return, we are reminded that life is a mist. Saturday night, I am in my garage and I pick up my phone and I check Facebook. And I see a message from a gentleman that I went to grad school with at ACU, a preacher, and the guy who did my wedding, a preacher from Cape Town, South Africa named Sheldon. And he posts that his wife's husband, a gentleman about the same age as me, tragically passed away, leaving a wife and 2 kids to figure things out. You don't know when disaster may strike because life is a mist. It's here today and it's gone tomorrow. 6 years ago, just 2 weeks ago, another one of my friends that I went to grad school with, a preacher from Memphis, Tennessee named Josh Ross, celebrated the 6-year anniversary of the death of his 31-year-old sister. Healthy girl, ran a 5K on Saturday. On Monday she's in the hospital. 19 days later, her life is over, leaving a husband and a 9-year-old daughter to figure out life on their own. You don't know what disaster may strike. This time of year we remember that from dust we came and to dust we shall return because life is a mist. No one knows how it's going to work out. We don't have control over it. Barbara Brown Taylor said it so well when she said, "We don't ever lose control. We lose the illusion that we ever had control." We don't have it. Like, who causes disaster to strike? Who picks when a healthy 31-year-old gets pneumonia? Who causes a car accident to happen? Who causes someone to come down with a chronic disease? No one causes that. It's out of our control. And we think we have control, but all that we have is an illusion that we're making things happen. It's all illusion. Before I was a part of the Westover Hills Church of Christ, I was a church planter in Denton, Texas. And if there ever was a time in ministry in which I should have been able to control everything, it was a time in which I picked the location of the church, I picked the name of the church, I picked the people who got a paycheck, I picked the people who were elders, I picked everything. And in 7 years, one of the things I realized is that I had very little control because it's all an illusion. You don't get to choose when disaster strikes, so what you should do is give generously 7 portions or maybe even 8. The writer is trying to say you don't know what's going to happen. You don't cause the breath to go into an infant's lungs. You don't cause when rain falls out of the clouds. And you don't control what happens in life. So what you should do is give generously. There's a writer named Stephen Pressfield. He's written a lot of fiction. One of the more popular ones is The Legend of Bagger Vance. It became a movie a few years ago with Will Smith and Matt Damon. But he's also written some nonfiction, including one of the books that's meant the most to me. It's entitled The War of Art, in which he talks about the process of writing. And he talks about how the muse shows up, typically for those who show up and do the work, right? People seem to be luckiest who work the hardest. Isn't that the way it works? But his point is that you have to just show up. And when you realize life is out of your control, what response do you have other than to just give yourself fully to the work in front of you? And that's the difference in success and craft. You see, success says, I want to work hard and I want to achieve so that I get those letters at the end of my name, so that I get invited to speak at this place or that place, so that I can be published, so I can have my name in some journal. But the problem with success is eventually you might get those things. You might get invited and you might achieve and you might get published and you might get those initials at the end of your name. And then something happens. You get those things and you realize that it doesn't mean what you thought they were going to mean. It doesn't fill you up. It doesn't give you what you thought it was going to give you. Comedian Jim Carrey says, "I wish everyone could be successful so they could realize how empty it is." That's success, right? The other option is craft, where you realize that you have been given a gift. Whatever gift it is, your life, your breath, this moment right here, right now, you don't cause it, you don't control it, but you are here. And whatever is in front of you, give yourself generously to that. It might not be to the crowd you want to speak to. It might not be the big publication. It might not get you the letters you want on the end of your name, but it is the only thing you have. It's right here, right now. It is this moment. I have a friend who was given fine china during his wedding, or after his wedding, the reception. And I don't know about you, but I was given the same sort of china after my wedding, right? China that I've used in 12 years of marriage maybe once, and that's a generous one. I don't even think I've used it once. It sits in a box, right? And he says, I realized that I had this china, me and my wife did, and we never used it, so I got rid of all the normal dishes that we have. And so if you come to my house for breakfast, it's the fine china. Because this moment right here, right now is all I have. This meal in front of me is the finest thing that I'm going to experience in this moment. When you realize you don't control when disaster is going to strike on earth, you give generously of yourself to this moment right here, right now. The Franciscan priest, Richard Rohr, says, all spirituality is about letting go. In the first half of life, we try to control things. Say, I can prevent disaster from striking to me because I take my vitamins and I buckle up and I floss, control all these things. But the second half of life, you realize it's about letting go because you don't have control. And so what you have is right here and right now. You have this moment. So may I implore you, may I encourage myself to give generously of yourself right here and right now, because that's all we have. Because from dust we came, and to dust we shall return. May you be blessed.